Eastern Airlines Flight 66 was a regularly scheduled passenger flight from New Orleans International Airport to John F. Kennedy International Airport in Jamaica, Queens, New York, on Tuesday, June 24, 1975. Flight 66 was operated using a Boeing 727 Trijet, registration number N8845E.
Before watching the video, can you please save a little bit time, like and subscribe to Skyplus have mover to increase?
There were 124 people on board, including 116 passengers and 8 crew members. The flight operated from New Orleans to the New York City area without any reported difficulty. The captain was 54-year-old John W. Cleven, who had been serving with Eastern Airlines for nearly 25 years and had been a 727 captain since July 10, 1968. Cleven had a total of 17,381 flight hours, including 2,813 hours on the Boeing 727. The first officer was 34-year-old William Eberhardt, who had been with Eastern Airlines for nearly 9 years. He had 5,063 flight hours, of which 4,327 were on the Boeing 727. The flight engineer was 31-year-old Gary M. Jurin, who had been with Eastern Airlines since 1968 and had 3,910 flight hours, 3,123 of which were on the Boeing 727. The second flight engineer, 33-year-old Peter J. McCullough, had been with Eastern Airlines for 4 years and had 3,602 military flying hours and 1,767 civil flying hours, including 676 hours on the Boeing 727. He was administering a required flight check on Jurin. The flight departed from Moisant Field at 13:19 Eastern Daylight Time. A severe thunderstorm arrived at JFK just as Flight 66 was approaching the New York City area. At 15:35, the crew was instructed to contact the JFK approach controller for instructions, and the approach controller sequenced it into the approach pattern for runway 22L. At 15:52, the approach controller warned all incoming aircraft that the airport was experiencing light rain showers and haze and zero visibility, and that all approaching aircraft must land using instrument flight rules. Because of the deteriorating weather, one of the crew members checked the weather at LaGuardia Airport in Flushing, Queens, the flight's alternate airport. At 15:59, the controller warned all aircraft of a severe wind shift on final approach and advised that more information would be reported shortly. Although communications on the frequency continued to report deteriorating weather, Flight 66 continued on its approach to runway 22L. At 16:02, the crew was told to contact the JFK tower controller for landing clearance. At 16:05, on final approach to runway 22L, the aircraft entered a microburst or wind shear environment caused by the severe storms. The aircraft continued its descent until it struck the approach lights approximately 2,400 feet from the threshold of the runway. After the initial impact, the plane banked to the left and continued to strike the approach lights until it burst into flames and scattered the wreckage along Rockaway Boulevard, which runs along the northeast perimeter of the airport. Of the 124 people on board, 107 passengers and 6 crew members, including all 4 cockpit crew members, were killed. The other 11 people on board, including 9 passengers and 2 flight attendants, were injured but survived. The accident was investigated by the National Transportation Safety Board, NTSB, which revealed that minutes before Flight 60 SIX's crash, a Flying Tiger Line Douglas DC-8 cargo jet landing on runway 22L reported tremendous wind shear on the ground. The pilot warned the tower of the wind shear conditions, but other aircraft continued to land. After the DC-8 landed, an Eastern Airlines Lockheed L-1011 landing on the same runway nearly crashed. The NTSB published its final report on March 12, 1976, determining the following probable cause of the accident. The flight crew's delayed recognition and correction of the high descent rate were probably associated with their reliance upon visual cues rather than on flight instrument reference. However, the adverse winds might have been too severe for a successful approach and landing even had they relied upon and responded rapidly to the indications of the flight instruments. The crash was determined to be caused by wind shear caused by a microburst, but the failure of the airport and the flight crew to recognize the severe weather hazard was also a contributing factor. Contributing to the accident was the continued use of runway 22L when it should have become evident to both air traffic control personnel and the flight crew that a severe weather hazard existed along the approach path. The accident led to the development of the original low-level wind shear alert system by the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration in 1976, which was installed at 110 FAA-manned airports between 1977 and 1987. The concept of downbursts was not yet understood when Flight 66 crashed. During the investigation, meteorologist Ted Fujita worked with the NTSB and the Eastern Airlines Flight Safety Department to study the weather phenomena encountered by Flight 66. Fujita's downburst theory was not immediately accepted by the aviation meteorology community. However, the crashes of Pan Am Flight 759 in 1982 and Delta Airlines Flight 191 in 1985 prompted the aviation community to reevaluate and ultimately accept Fujita's theory and to begin researching downburst/microburst detection and avoidance systems in earnest.
Thank you for watching the video. If you have idea of a blank, please comment below to everyone discuss.